I'm Team Zekis.
And hey, I'm Ileka Falette. We are business owners and moms with corporate backgrounds, and we are all about getting Black women paid in both corporate and business.
And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast.
Let's go.
Hello, welcome to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. I am Tine Zekis. I am the founder and CEO of Getting Black Women Paid. And today's episode, we're doing a part 2. All the way back on episode 2, we talked about imposter syndrome. And we mostly focused on imposter syndrome in corporate, in your job. And in that episode, we were like, hey, we need to do a whole episode on imposter syndrome for entrepreneurs. And so that is what we're doing today. And our entrepreneurial expert, Miss Ileka Falette, is joining us as well. Ileka.
Hey, everybody. I'm Ileka Falette, the other co-host of our co-host. Wow, I can't even talk. The co-host of our Getting Black Women Paid podcast. And so, imposter syndrome is really important for us. And we talked, like Tine mentioned, we talked about it in episode 2. If you want to go back and watch that. And we talked about it from a career standpoint back then. Mm-hmm. We want to really hit it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because what's really funny about when it comes to imposter syndrome, I'm going to give a quick story about someone I was working with. And she's like, I don't know if I'm the right person to help these people. She had a coaching program helping women, improve their health, lose weight, feel better, have more energy, all that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And she's like, I feel like I know I've done it for other clients, but it's like when someone comes to me, I'm like, why are they coming to me? Like, am I the one that can help them? Do I even know enough? Do I have enough certifications? Do I have enough experience?
Right. And the fact I've done it before is not enough evidence for me to know that I'm good at it and I can do it again. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, here's the funniest part when it comes to this particular person, this particular woman. She was a physician. Not only was she a physician, right? Full-blown MD, doctor, right?
And she's talking about certifications. How many years of education do you need to be like, hey, I know what I'm talking about?
Right, exactly. A physician who focused on women's health, right? So that's the first thing. Her ideal client was a woman. The second thing was she'd gotten all these health coaching certifications, and she'd always done additional nutrition science and things like that to really get deep into that. And she still felt like she wasn't good enough she wasn't the right person. Why are people coming to her? Right. So I told that story to really highlight that imposter syndrome is something that just about everyone experiences, right? If you're a health coach and you're like, I know I've done this before. I've helped this person lose 100 pounds and this person shift her life completely. And now she has more energy to hang out with her kids. And I've helped this person do this. And you're still sitting there like, but, I don't know if people should come to me. Should I be charging this amount? Who's going to pay me $700 a month? You know what? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been there too. I mean, by the time I started asking people to pay me for coaching, I had already helped multiple women double their salaries. Double, more than double. And I'm like, oh, can I charge this? Can we talk about the return on investment on the work I do? And I still, at the beginning, had this, am I the right person? Absolutely.
Yep. It's so funny that you mentioned return on investment too, as we're talking about this. We're going to have to do a whole podcast on return on investment, especially for programs or for businesses that don't have specifically a monetary return on investment.
Right. It's very easy to say, well, if you're going to increase your salary by $20,000, giving me $1,000 is, obviously a 20-fold return on investment. But what's the monetary value of your health, of your mental well-being, of your
Mhm.
happiness and your free time, right? It's harder to put a number on that.
Mhm. Yep,
But
exactly.
I'd argue that maybe some of those are even more valuable than
Mhm. Exactly.
dollars. Mhm.
Even when you're working with someone and you're coaching them to remove themselves from a from a toxic workplace and
Yeah,
that there is other opportunities out there, the
yeah.
person's like, "Well, should I invest in that? Kidding me?" You know, just
Mm,
thinking about how
mhm,
that all comes together. But
yeah.
we're gonna have a whole episode on that. But let's get back to imposter syndrome. But yeah, it's when it comes to imposter syndrome, I think the biggest thing is I think comparison is the biggest thing when it comes to imposter syndrome,
Mm,
right? Because what happens is I've seen so many, especially women entrepreneurs, especially Black women entrepreneurs, look to the person next to them,
yeah,
man, woman, especially look, or the white woman or whatever next to them and say, you know, yeah, of course she can charge $1,500 a month for her service. You know, people are coming to her. She has this
mhm,
experience. She has that experience, right?
mhm,
And fact of the matter is, if you were to go back and look at that person's experience and what they've done, usually they have
right.
way less experience and certifications, degrees, XYZ than you, you
Right.
know?
Oh my gosh, Black women are the most educated, most certified, most qualified group, and then we
Mhm,
always think we need more and more just to start. And I wish I could remember where this quote came from. I'll try to look it up later because 'cause I'm gonna keep bringing it up. But
mhm,
don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle or to
mhm.
someone else's end, right?
Ooh,
Like, you maybe you're in the middle and someone you're looking at someone who has been doing this for 10 years.
mhm.
Yeah, they have more clients than you. Yeah,
Right,
maybe they can charge more right now, but that doesn't mean you're not ready to start, and you're not ready to start asking for some money, and,
right.
and so rarely do we see anyone's mistakes, anyone's, you know, tough parts. We only see their success, and then we're like, "Oh, I can't compare to that." I think one of the things that helped me so much, even just in starting this podcast
Mhm,
and the YouTube channel, is, the advice I got was to look at people who I follow
mhm.
and go find their oldest videos. Go find their
Mm,
first videos. Their sound is all jank, they got weird lighting, they didn't know what they were doing, they started, and
exactly.
they got better as they went.
Yep.
And so, like, if you're not gonna start until you're at the level that this person was 3 years in,
Right,
then you'll
exactly.
never start.
Mhm. That's so true. It's funny. As you said that, I would challenge folks to go look at my first videos on Wellness Growth Pro channel. My first YouTube videos, I mean, I'm sitting on a couch just talking. It was a whole mess, you know? So
And as we talked about in our code switching, episode, I think that was episode 3, you were still doing your business your corporate, "Hey, it's Ileka," you know?
"Hey, I'm done. How are you?" Da-da-da-da. Yes, whole mess, right? With
Yeah,
my phone, the whole background was dark, like, it was a whole mess, right? But
yeah,
because I was just starting, and it's like, when you're just starting, you really don't know what you don't know. But
yep,
here's the really cool thing about, like, the person that you're comparing yourself to, right? The really cool thing is that they started.
yeah,
And that's the thing, right? So many people will sit in imposter syndrome and it hinders them from actually jumping out there and getting started because
yeah,
they're like, who am I to teach this
mhm,
thing? Who am I to show folks how to do this? And,
yeah,
or I don't even do this every day, right?
yep, yep.
It's like,
Right, yeah, I mean, I'm still working on following my own advice, like, that's not you can't be the paragon of what you're expecting your clients to work toward. It's
Mhm.
okay if you're on the same journey, but you're a few steps ahead of them, and you
Ex-
can help bring them along with you,
mhm.
right? And so it's not even well, it is. It's partly it's getting started.
Yeah.
That's the first big hurdle, and then it's
Mm.
every hurdle after that, it's keeping going, right? The difference between entrepreneurs who have successful businesses and entrepreneurs who drop out after the first year or 2 is that they kept going.
Yeah.
They kept going, and it's about making mistakes and saying, "Hey, what can I learn from this? Why did that happen? What can I do differently next time?" Really build that growth mindset as
Right.
opposed to, "Oh, well, I failed. That's because 'cause I'm a failure. That's because I'm not good enough for this." And that's where all those, imposter thoughts come
Mm.
in. It's this, I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough.
Yeah,
Instead of, well, we all make mistakes. What a great lesson.
exactly.
I'm ready to use it when I to jump off as a starting off point for the
Mhm.
next big thing.
Exactly, and it makes me think when you mention people feeling like because they're not 100%, the ideal person doing this things means
Yeah.
that they can't teach it. It had me think of a couple of things. One was when I was at a big Fortune 500 company, it was actually Fortune 100 company in consulting, right? And this was years ago. We were, doing a consulting firm for other companies, right? So let's say we're consulting for another Fortune 500 company and implementing systems, like implementing
Mhm.
a good a process improvement system that's going to allow them to, get whatever, right? XYZ in their, I think we were implementing like SAP and, some other stuff, right? And so here's the thing where imposter syndrome comes in. We're implementing SAP as one company, implementing it into another company.
Can you for us, what is SAP?
Oh, SAP. Okay. It's an ERP system. Oh, well, look at me. Oh my goodness. Right.
So many acronyms.
So, it's basically like I'll just use it from a supply chain standpoint. It's basically showing you where things are in your system. They have some CRM functionality, customer oh my gosh, my brain, client relationship management, aspects in there and some different things, but
Yeah,
let's look at it just from a system that shows you your entire supply chain, what your
okay,
inventory looks like, what, where you are in certain machines, like what machines are being overused, all that stuff, right?
thank
So I just went all the way in.
we get the lingo and
All
then
the
we just
acronyms.
but I
But it's
didn't mean to derail your story, please continue.
so true, right? But we're implementing this system, and if you go into the company that I work for, we didn't have the systems. Like,
Mm,
our systems were trash, right? Absolute
yep,
junk. Like, we
yep,
couldn't do easy things, just simple
mhm,
stuff like, "Let me send this email." Like, it was regular stuff that was struggle bus, right?
right,
Meanwhile, we're implementing these state-of-the-art systems in these other companies. So I say that to say, just because 'cause you're not 100% doing living in every bit of the life that you teach or every bit of the thing that you
mhm,
teach. We're all a work in progress, right?
right,
You don't have to be the top expert in something to teach it. And
mhm,
or no, I don't even want to say it like that. You don't have to be overly successful in something to teach it.
well,
Most
and
oh, I was gonna say most real quick, most teachers, most like professors in college,
mhm,
marketing, they don't have a marketing firm. If you look at most
right,
actors, all like Denzel Washington, who's like, one of the top actors ever, right? One of the best actors ever. He has an acting coach. His acting coach is not a superstar actor, if you
right,
think of it that way.
right. Well, and I would even add, it might be an advantage to not be the best of the best of the best to be teaching people. Because one thing that always gets me when people use motivational quotes from like Oprah,
Mhm.
I'm like, that is irrelevant to me. Oprah is so many million steps ahead of where I am. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to learn from someone who doesn't remember being where I am.
Yes.
Right?
Oh.
And so I don't want the expert who has been successful for 20
Mhm.
years, and when they started out, the economy was different, technology
Yeah.
was different, like, they don't know what I'm trying to do.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
want someone who maybe 3 years ago did what I'm trying to do, or maybe last year did what I'm trying to do,
Mhm.
and can help me get through it, and so it might even be an advantage to say, "Hey, I'm in the middle of this journey, I'm towards the beginning,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna help you get to where I am."
Yes, exactly. That's a great point because looking at that, you want the Oprah to help with that long term, where do I want to go? Those long term goals
Sure.
and dreams and stuff that like we want to get
Mhm.
to, right?
But the nitty-gritty, like, she can't tell
Right.
she
Right.
can't tell me how to
Mhm.
set up a YouTube channel.
Right.
Right, like, that's not
Exactly.
can you
My
imagine Oprah setting up her own
right. I
anything?
had a coach. I had a coach one time and you know, she said, I was gonna join this she said that she was gonna join a program, and this coach, she was making probably, let's say her revenue was about like 750 to 1,000,000 for the year, right?
Okay.
And she said a couple years ago when her revenue was like 150, 200, she was gonna join, she had the opportunity to join a program where everybody in there was $10 million earners, right?
Mm.
And she actually signed up and joined, and when she got there, she realized that she had no clue. They were speaking it was almost like they were speaking, 4th year Chinese, and she was just starting her 1st year of Chinese, just
Right.
learning Chinese. So she didn't even know that the letter structure, right? That they're speaking it fluently. And
Mhm.
so in that situation, she felt completely and it was imposter syndrome a little bit, but more so they're speaking at a different stage in their
Right.
business.
Right, and so that stuff is not helpful to her
Exactly.
yet,
Right,
and that's
yeah.
one of the most important words in growth mindset, in imposter syndrome is yet, right? I can't do that yet,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna put it on my list so that after I get to 7 figures,
Yeah,
now that's the first place I'm gonna go when I'm at that level so I can level up to now maybe 8 figures, right? Right, and that's
exactly.
where, we can have coaches that we have as, my someday coach. When I
Mhm.
get to this level, I wanna work with that person.
Exactly.
But in the meantime, let me do what I'm trying to do. Let me start,
Right,
right? And I'm gonna get there
exactly.
by doing it, and I'm gonna make mistakes. It's not gonna be perfect. A lot of us with imposter syndrome also have this perfectionism,
Mhm.
and in entrepreneurship, you're gonna make mistakes, and you've gotta go in knowing that and being okay with it to some degree.
Right, exactly. It's so funny because, bringing in some of our off camera or, pre-conversations, Teen you asked me before we started, "You don't experience imposter syndrome, do you, Ileka?" Right? Did you say and I was like, "Yes, I do." Because see, that's the thing, it's like so it made me think we should talk about some tips for folks who are experiencing imposter syndrome, what you can do. So
Yeah.
there have been times where I've had major imposter syndrome, uh, especially when I first started my business and I was charging $99 a month, right? Thinking
A
that was too
month?
much.
Oh, girl. Oh, that gave me heart
This is
palpitations.
this was 2017 or something like that, right? 2018.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any better, right?
Right.
And I thought that was high for what I was charging. But even thinking about that, I was thinking, well, I can't charge more than that because this girl has, 50,000 followers and she's charging this amount, so I can't charge that, right? So I was
Right.
into this imposter syndrome and into the I can't do this and all I've done is lose the weight. And I've helped
Mm.
a few people that are in my family, but I haven't helped anybody, that I don't know yet. So who's going to
Right.
pay me more than this, right?
Right.
That's where I got my first client who paid $99 for the first month and $50 every month after that.
Discounted.
Yes, this is what I did. So, $50 a month after that. Lost 120 something pounds in a year, right?
Mm.
And I mean, if I think about it, what was that worth for her in her life? You know?
Right, that's life changing.
It's life-changing. And I'm sitting here in imposter syndrome thinking, you know, yeah, I probably can help, but who else is gonna trust me? People aren't gonna trust me, so I might as well charge pennies. No one's gonna believe this. Meanwhile, people were trusting that I could do it, and people were actually getting help,
Yeah.
actually changing their lives. But it made me think, okay, in those moments when imposter syndrome started to come, because I remember it creeped back in around 2021 or 22 when I was really doing some major business coaching and
Mhm.
really and business strategy. And a woman came to me and she was making, probably 2 or 3 times what I was making in my business. And she wanted me to
Yeah.
help her.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what the heck? Like, how am I like she was like wouldn't take no for an answer. She like you're gonna be the person who's gonna help me.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I went with it, because I was thinking,
She insisted. Yeah.
right, she
And you
insisted.
thought, "You're at a level where I can't help you. You're above where I can"
Mhm. That was where I
Wow.
was.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I was able to, like, help her streamline things in her business. Here's the thing, when we were having the conversation, she's like, "I don't see why you don't think." I'm trying to convince her that I can't do it. This is the worst
This
part,
is
right?
the anti-sales call.
Yeah. And she's like, "I don't see why you don't think you can do it. I've been following you for a while, even when you were doing weight loss coaching. I've been following you for a while." And she said, "What I know is that you have a Six Sigma, certification, you have a project management certification, you were at, Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies, and
Mm,
you've done this for them, so why couldn't you do it for me?" And
mm,
I was like, "Man, she's absolutely right." And so in
yeah,
those moments when we're thinking about as, imposter syndrome comes, I wanna leave us with, like, 2 things that we can do when imposter syndrome shows up, right?
mm,
The first is, because it's gonna rear its ugly head, right? It can't wait.
right.
When it comes up, when you start having those like, I'm doing my hands for folks who are listening, but, like, I'm doing my hands like someone's talking in my ear. When you have those words that come through like, "Ain't nobody gonna think you can do this. You don't
Mhm,
have these skills. Who's
mhm,
gonna trust you?" It's almost like I literally imagine myself, like, blocking it and pushing it away, right? Like,
mm,
"No, that's not true," and I bring in all the good. And I remember all the good. Like, I literally
mm,
forced myself to bring that in. Like, "You know what? You've helped this business do this. You've helped this person do this. You have shifted these things. You've helped people make hundreds of thousands of dollars. You've, helped businesses, save millions. You know what I'm saying? Like, all
yep,
those things start to be able to flow in,
mhm,
and I start to decide and realize who the F I am, and what I have done. And
yeah,
when you start to stand in that, imposter syndrome
mm,
there.
mm,
Because you can't know who the F you are and have imposter syndrome, you know?
right,
So
right,
in that moment,
mm,
not saying it doesn't come back, but when it does, you got those I get to pull in the things that are good and the things that I've done and my receipts. I get to pull
yep,
those in and push away that
mm,
negative self-talk that wants to tell me I can't.
mm. And you just reminded me of something, a colleague of mine, Brittany Canty, says,
Mhm,
I think her business is Time Is Now Consulting. I'll look it up and put the link in the description, but she had this whole video about, what she says when she has some kind of thought about whatever, and it's, "Who told you that?"
mhm.
That's it. "Oh, I can't be doing that." Who told you that?" And sometimes there's an answer, right? Sometimes it's, "Oh, well, my mom
Mom,
always
yeah.
said, you gotta be 10 times better to get the thing," or "My aunt always told me this." What maybe there is a person, or maybe it's a story you're telling yourself. But
Exactly.
either way, just examining, like, where did that thought come from? Because
Mhm.
often the answer is, well, that's not actually real data that I'm working with. That's just some pretend thing
Right.
I'm saying about how I don't know this or I can't do that. And
Mhm.
so that to me is the voice that keeps coming to me is, "Who told you that?"
Who told you that? Yep.
So I'd encourage all of our listeners as you are, pursuing your entrepreneurial journey, if you are starting out or if you are coming across a hurdle or a test or a challenge in your business, when you hear that "I can't" or "I shouldn't" or "Who would why me?"
Mhm.
Take a step back. Who told you that? Who told you you couldn't be the person?
Right.
And
And why are you believing them?
that part.
Yeah.
Right. Is that person reliable?
Right.
Who told you that, and why should you listen to them? And the answer is
Exactly.
usually you shouldn't. And just
Right.
just keep moving forward.
Because even if that person is reliable, that doesn't mean they had all the knowledge when they said it.
Mhm.
They could be trying to
Mhm.
protect you, they could be doing anything, but at
Yep.
the end of the day, it does not mean that they are correct,
Mhm.
because who told you that? If it wasn't you, then you get to own
Yeah.
your
And
great.
if it was you, you
Right.
could still correct you. You could still say, "Well, yet," right?
Right.
"Yes, I can't do that
Mm,
yet, but Imma try and Imma
yep,
learn while I'm doing it."
100%.
Mm. Well, I think we should leave it there. Thank you all for joining us. For those listening on the podcast, please follow wherever you're listening and share this podcast with the other incredible Black women in your life. And for those watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can get more episodes like this. And please, please have the conversation in the comments. We want to know, are you experiencing these things? What are your strategies for battling imposter syndrome? Let's keep the conversation going and, learn from each other.
Yes, definitely. And share on your social media. Folks, these are some serious conversations that we've been talking about. So
Mhm.
let's share it and let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care, guys.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, subscribe wherever you're listening now.
And if you loved what you heard, be sure to leave us a review. And make sure you share the podcast with incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.